GP parents, my name is Mrs. Van Winkle, and I will be teaching your students this year. I like to start out my orientation with a little bit of history about myself and to show you guys a picture of my family. CJ is behind me. I have my daughter Cassidy and Kerrigan. This is actually a picture in Alaska from 2 years ago. We have some friends there that let us come visit. It was a really fun trip. I also love sports. The Dallas Cowboys are my favorite football team. The Los Angeles Dodgers are my favorite baseball team. I'm super happy to have baseball back in my life. And I went to UC Irvine and got my degree in biology. The other part of the information on this lower left slide is going to be my contact information. That phone number is for my office phone, and I may or may not have access to that phone. So the best way to get in touch with me is email or on Remind, which is an app that I use that if your students have been to Valley Oaks before, I'm sure you've had access to. But I will be giving you that code to use as well in order to get in touch with me via text message. Here's a few other pictures of my kids. They love to play softball, and we love to go snow skiing as a family. Okay, so a little bit about me and how my class works. The class requirements are very similar if your students came to Valley Oaks as a freshman. Definitely a desire to learn. We're hoping that your students are happy to be here. I don't require a binder for my class, but some binders are, accessible to students, and it helps them stay organized. So that's completely up to you how you want your student to stay organized. But if they just have a folder for my class, that will definitely suffice. Definitely a paper, pencil, and eraser, and then flashcards or lined paper for vocab terms. So vocabulary is definitely a must for biology because it's very heavy in vocabulary. So I like my students to do words and definitions. So whether that's flashcards with the word on one side and the definition on the other, or on a piece of lined paper, as long as they have their words and definitions in some form, because they'll be able to use those words and definitions on their test for that chapter, as well as on their final at the end of the semester. So they won't be turning them into me, they'll be keeping them. So it's up to them how they would like to keep those organized. Students do not need to bring their textbooks to class. So if we do have classes on campus, they will not need to bring their textbooks. They may leave those at home. As far as my grading goes for my class, the work completed at home will be done in portfolios, which if your students, came to Valley Oaks last year, you guys are used to that. It does only count for 15% of the grade. And the reason for that is that you guys will have access to the answer keys to grade your students' work. And I highly recommend that you do that. It will be on the school website, which I will show you guys in just a minute. But they'll be able to use their portfolios on the test. So it's to their benefit if you grade their portfolio and then they're able to correct their mistakes in order for them to have all the correct information to use on the test. Most of the work that they will be doing that has the highest percentage of their grade will be what they do with me in class. So whether that's classwork or labs that we do online together, or if we are meeting on campus and do labs in class, that will be 25% of their grade. I realize it says classwork, but it'll be classwork or labs. And the bulk of their grade will be assessments. So any of the quizzes that they take with me, any tests that they take with me will be 60%. And like I said, they'll be able to use their portfolios on those assessments. So I highly recommend, like I said, that you as the parent are able to grade them to make sure that they can correct their mistakes in order for them to have the correct information to use the day of the test. Quizzes are usually given the first 10 minutes of class if we are meeting on campus. If we are not meeting on campus and we have to meet on Zoom, then the kids will not be taking quizzes. Their exams will be on Google Forms, which will basically be the last day that the portfolio is due. And I'll show you what those portfolio evaluation sheets look like. That basically will tell you when that portfolio itself is due. And that's when they will log into Google Classroom and take their test on Google Forms. I'm a big proponent of test correction. So if, for example, the students get, let's say, a 75% on my test, they can say, Mrs. Van Winkle, I'd like to do test corrections. They can go back through, ask me questions, and they can correct their mistakes, and it'll raise that test score 10%. So instead of a 75%, they now have an 85%. If for some reason they get below a 70%, I do offer retakes where they can, go through the information with me. I can answer any questions that they have, and then they'll take another test. And then I will take that score on that test for their actual score in the class. So I understand test anxiety. I try and, help the students out as much as possible as far as, giving them ample opportunity to raise their grade if for some reason they do poorly on a test. So again, retakes for 70% or below, but test corrections are available to anybody that wants them that got above a 70%. Okay, so as far as Remind goes, that basically will be what you will text to 81010. It basically is going to be my lifeline for this class, especially if we are doing distance learning. I basically give reminders, like say, hey, this is due, make sure you turn this in, or make sure you have your portfolio done and submit it. Your test will be on Google Forms tomorrow, and so forth. So please, please, please sign up for Remind. I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. All right, and I know you guys can come back and view this later, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. As far as the answer keys on the school website, this is basically where you will access all of the answer keys for my class. So it'll basically be on the school website. Once you access this, if you click on schools and then Bakersfield High School, not to be confused with BHS, it'll basically open our high school page. Under Parent Resources is Home Educator Answer Keys. And then science basically is going to be where you will click on for Biology P. If you scroll down, you'll notice Biology P is going to be on the second row. And all of these answer keys is what you'll need for the remainder of the year. I also have my syllabus here. So most of this information I've gone over with you. You can access later on that syllabus. Again, my email address, and then all of the answer keys you will need. Spring semester you won't need right now, but fall semester is basically what we're going to be concentrating on. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this just so you guys can kind of see the difference in parts of the portfolio. So as far as this goes, go back to okay, so this is basically what their portfolio will look like. I'll go ahead and show you what the first page is. So this is what's known as the portfolio evaluation sheet. This is you as the parent who goes through and gives points based on how they did on their actual portfolio. All of these assignments will be included in their portfolio packet. So they don't need to add anything or take anything away. All of these worksheets will be included in there. And then basically all of the points will add up to 200 points. So I'm hoping as the students go through and if they get some stuff wrong, you basically can review with them and then make sure that they understand the material in order for them to correct their mistakes, and then please give them 100%. My goal basically is for everybody to get 200 points on this portfolio in order for them to be prepared for the test. So as far as that goes, they'll also be receiving an agenda. So I know you guys are familiar with this, especially if you guys are Valley Oaks pros. But basically at the very top is going to be their vocabulary terms. And that's basically what I said as far as their flashcards, word on one side, definition on the other, or on a piece of lined paper. But as long as they have their vocabulary in some form, and then basically day by day breakdown. And this is basically what I would recommend as far as me taking the class, how I would pace it, only so it's not so overwhelming. But at the very end, you guys will notice basically it'll say submit portfolio on Google Classroom, and I'll show the students how to do that, and then take their test on Google Forms. So on the very last day of the portfolio, you'll notice that's basically when they'll take their test. So this portfolio will be due on August 31st, and that's basically when they'll take their test on Google Forms, and then I will basically give them their next portfolio. So as far as their portfolio goes, after the portfolio evaluation sheet and the agenda, this basically will be the packet that they will get. So you'll notice the active reading, there'll be some quizzes in here, basically anything that looks like a worksheet per se, you'll be using that first answer key. So this biology answer key fall semester will be for all the first part of their portfolio. Once you get to here, that kind of looks like a textbook, you'll notice it says interactive reader on the bottom. This basically will be the second answer key that you will use. So biology interactive reader answer key. So like I said, anything that looks like a textbook, they can highlight, they can write in the margins and everything else, that will be the second answer key that they will use. What I tell the kids is if you aren't able to get through the entire portfolio in the 2 to 3 week period, make sure that you have the last portion of the portfolio done. So this is basically like a vocabulary review will always be at the end, as well as a test prep pre-test. So I tell them if for some reason you can't get the entire portfolio done, please get those sections done, because I actually take practice questions from that area and put on their actual test. So like I said, it's to their benefit. Please, at all possible, make sure that their portfolio is corrected so they have all of the correct information to use the day of the test, because they may use their portfolio on their test. Okay. Okay, so I hope that you have gotten most of your questions answered as far as how I run my class. I'm here to answer any questions that you have, so please let me know if you have any questions at all. I'll go ahead and put my email address back up here so you have it. Or like I said, make sure you access the Remind code, and I'll go ahead, let me go back through and give that to you as well. So you guys can access the Remind and text message me on there. I look forward to having your students in class. Thank you very much.